what is up? What is up? What is up? This is Simon Mayo. I'd just like to say that this show would be nothing without the production team who work day and night to give you the best listener experience possible. All I do is just turn up and read this script, word for word, so all hail the magnificent redactor and his minions. I'd also just like to say I've spent the whole weekend watching the film Mother, which I really enjoyed, and I've decided that I'd really like to watch the tip-top movies Jeremy and The Exorcist at some point. Mark, perhaps you can arrange some screenings. I'd like to watch Jeremy on repeat perhaps next weekend. Could probably squeeze in 5 or 6 showings in a day. What do you reckon?
That's not me.
No, but actually what's weird is it's quite obviously not you.
Yes.
I've heard much... I mean, I've heard AIs in which you think, well, that is...
Well, for a casual listener...
I don't know.
I think that's close enough. That's AI-generated me, isn't it? Yes. So nods from the production team. Interesting how when they wrote the script, the first thing that they put was praise for themselves.
Praise for themselves.
I think that is extremely concerning because this is early days. It's going to get better. That's close enough. So if that voice did an advert, for example, for let's say GB News, I can imagine people going, "Really,
what's Simon Mayo doing?
Why
advertising that?
Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Tripe.
That's terrible." Okay, let's see what
is
they've
it one
done.
of me? Okay,
Let's see what they've done with you.
Thanks, Simon. I'd just like to get a few things off my chest. First of all, a big apology to Charlie Kaufman, who is a genius and should definitely direct more of his own screenplays. And Sex and the City 2 is one of the greatest, and I mean, better than Pan's Labyrinth, better than A Matter of Life and Death, The Devils. In the film, it's a wonderful life. I'd also like to admit that The Exorcist is so overrated. I actually prefer watching Avatar, The Way of Water, and I do actually love Donald Trump. So repeat after me, Make America Great Again. Tinkety tonkin up with the Nazis.
Okay, so what that sounds like to me is a young
James
Mark.
King.
Well, a little bit of James King with enough of you in there, clearly on speed. I would think. I don't know what that sounds like.
A bit posher, a bit posher is better. And I'm slightly reassured because I think that doesn't sound like us. I mean, I think that the AI you sounds more like you, but that's probably because there's more of you in the ether because you broadcast every day. Oh, there's another one. Okay, fine. Let's have a listen.
I have to finally admit that there is only one team in North London, and that team is the mighty Arsenal. Tottenham Hotspur are forever in their shadow. This is an undeniable fact. And I was so pleased to see Sol Campbell go to the mighty Arsenal and win the double. We won the league in black and white, as the song goes, and we know our place. It's all about the Arsenal.
Yeah, now play the AI one.
I mean, the thing is, it's close.
Creepy. It's creepy.
It is creepy, and it's close enough for us to be, in terms of the next general election or the next American presidential election or whatever. It is. I mean, it comes up with Greta Gerwig because obviously because of the strike that's happening in America. Came up with Simon Pegg last week.
Yes,
there is absolutely no getting away from the fact that if that's what our team on a very, very limited budget.
If that's what our team, I mean, if even they.
Imagine if you have people who could actually do something.
No, what I mean is, imagine that.
If you had the resources of a state behind you, for example,
I know.
And a room full of people.
Yeah. As opposed to a shonky internet connection and chat GBT or whatever it's called.
I mean, I feel a little bit kind of... We might as well... Why do we even bother with this show now? Why should...
They
can just generate
One advantage of it, Simon, is if AI could do all this for us, you wouldn't have to have your fight with the taxi every morning. Where did you come via this morning?
Well, it felt like I'd come via Croydon.
I came from Manchester and I was here by 8 o'clock. You came from Showbiz North London.
Yes.
I think it took you longer than it did for me from Manchester.
A life-shortening experience. And I'm just grateful to be here, but I'm wondering how much longer they'll actually need us here before they can just type the words that they want us to say.
Do some Kermode and Mayo flannel.
When we go on the cruise,
yes,
they could just...
Can we not call the barge trip a cruise?
Okay, when we go on the barge trip, why would they bother hiring people to come and do our show when they can just make us say stuff like that?
Just get us to do it. Yeah, exactly. Just tell what does the GPT stand for? GPT chat. What does it stand for?
General practice thuggery.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. I'm sure that our top team.
Generative pre-training what? Transformer.
Wow, it's got Transformer in the title.
Is it like Optimus Prime? Is that that works?
Is that what you used to get our voices like that? Okay, so that was the redactor. What he just said, and I have in 3 minutes.
Wow!
Did that in 3. He was just thinking, what are the most ludicrous things we could get them to say, and came up with.
There's a podcast called Pod Save America, in which they did a long running joke about they AI'd Joe Biden, and it was uncannily indistinguishable from Joe Biden. Again, I presume because there's more of Joe Biden out in the ether than there is of us. But it was like he was making. And when I started listening to the clip, I thought that is Joe Biden, and then of course then he starts saying things that you realise that it's not Joe Biden. So
unfortunately, it means you can't. Basically, we can't trust anything.
No.
So if I actually see you, for example, run into the sea carrying Ryan Gosling above your head.
Oh no, that happened.
Okay, if I see you do it, then I'll believe that happened. But if I see film of you doing it, my first assumption will be, well, that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm suitably disconcerted at the start of the show. I know you're going to ask me to ask you about your T-shirt, so why don't you just tell me about the T-shirt now, and then we can.
I wasn't going to ask you, but do you know what it is?
Just tell us about the T-shirt.
Well, it says, looking down, it says Ron and Dirk and Stig and Barry, who are, of course, the Prefab Four, the Ruttles.
There you go. So, and it's a new T-shirt, I can tell.
4 lads, far from home and far from talented.
What are we doing on the show today?
We're going to be reviewing Barbieheimer because it's Barbieheimer week. Yes, after all this time, Barbie and Oppenheimer are opening back to back. And we'll also be looking at The Bear Season 2.
Greta Gerwig is going to be on the show. I'd never met her before, so I was very interested.
Oh, you didn't interview her for?
I did not.
Okay,
I've never met her before at all. Anyway, so you will hear Greta Gerwig talking about Barbie. Also in our extra takes, more of this kind of general stuff. Weekend watch list and weekend not list. 5 of which are great and 3 you're going to hate. Bonus reviews also.
Was that you or was that an AI?
That was
actually you, was it?
Basically, any mistakes that are made on the show.
Any mistakes that AI.
Yes. What are the bonus reviews?
The bonus reviews are My Name is Alfred Hitchcock and Secret Kingdom.
Basically, you wouldn't want your film to come out in Barbieheimer week, would you?
Well, I mean, it is just strange that those 2 really, really big movies are opening in the same week because anyone who runs a cinema knows it's been quite a tough year so far. Things like Mission Impossible, hooray. But it's just suddenly the 2 biggest blockbusters arrive absolutely together. But it has allowed everybody to make the Barbieheimer cake.
I don't think I can recall a movie with more hype than Barbie. I mean, in terms of they are everywhere. There is pink
everywhere.
It is quite astonishing.
And I was surprised the other day to have a conversation with a young somebody in their 20s, but somebody who's fairly plugged in who didn't know about Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Astonishing. I bet everybody knows about Barbie. Yeah. Also, pretentious, while currently Mark Kermode 18 against Mark Kermode 15. One Frame Back is inspired by Oppenheimer. Your recommendation for films about the atomic bomb. There are loads of those. You can support us via Apple Podcasts. Head to extratakes.com for non-fruit-related devices. If you're already a Vanguardista, as always, we salute you. Don't forget you can get signed merch, and we ship now to the US and Australia, and it's all a very good thing.
I love the fact that we ship to the US and Australia. It makes us sound so international.
There is actually a special liner which is full of our merch, which is like one of those huge kind of barges which goes internationally. It ships to Australia, it ships to America, and it takes like 10 months to get there. So, don't get too excited. Dear Beavis and Butthead says Holly Cruz, BA, MA, History of Warwick.
Okay.
University of Warwick. What did I say?
History of Warwick.
History of Warwick. The
history of Warwick.
University of Warwick. Here's a Warwick student, can't even read. Very good. The Lyndon B. Johnson conversation last week had me laughing out loud on my cycle into work.
Yeah.
Partly your reactions to the words bunghole, and partly because that word reminds me of a sequence from Beavis and Butthead Do America, where it is used extensively. Me and my brother loved that film as young teens, and while I've no idea if it's aged well or badly, there's still enough of a sniggering teen in me to enjoy the memory of Beavis walking around declaring, "I am Cornholio, I need TP for my bunghole." I haven't seen that movie, so therefore I had not remembered it. Alan Maguire says, "Dear Sir Simon Nominative and Dr. Mark Determinism, it is my sad duty to inform you that pork bung is what butchers call a pig's rectum. Pork bung is considered a...
This show has taken a very peculiar turn.
Pork bung is considered a delicacy in some cuisines, and even more unfortunately, there are apparently some parts of the world where if you order calamari, you might get served bunghole. You're welcome," says Alan Maguire. That is your
because it's the
bottom
same shape.
love. Anyway, who'd have thought? I mean, why would anybody? Why would it? How in any culture can a pig's rectum be considered something that you actually would want to eat?
I do know. I
mean, you could use it as a tea towel holder, but why would you want to eat it?
Why would you want to hang a tea towel out of a pig's bum?
Well, no, it's just got a useful kind of. You could just pop it in.
It's a pig's.
Well, what would you rather do? Put a tea towel in it or eat it? You being a vegetarian, of course.
Although, weirdly enough, if you talk to vegetarians about that sort of thing, what they will tell you is, well, if you're going to kill and eat an animal, better that you eat all of it.
Like Australia.
What, all of it? Yes,
Eddie Beard.
Exactly.
Eddie Beard in Belfast.
That was a callback to a joke that's so old even I had forgotten it.
Point number 1, says Eddie, listening to your tales of taxi drivers... I'm already stressed. Clearly unsuited to their calling, somehow reminded me of an incident 30-something years ago in Tralee in the west of Ireland. Passing through with my father-in-law, who wanted to revisit a bar he had enjoyed frequently and at length in his earlier years, he remembered the name of the place, but a new one-way system added a level of complexity to the task which was beyond us. Google Maps, not yet a twinkle in a tech billionaire's a billionaire's eye. After wandering around for a bit, we stopped and asked a man who knew of where we spoke, but struggled to place it in the metropolis of 1990s Tralee. After much head-scratching and a couple of false starts, he finally concluded, now this kind of needs to be said in an Irish accent, which I can't do.
You could get AI to do it. You could get AI to do Simon Mayo says something in an Irish accent.
Could that be done?
No, apparently it's beyond the current capabilities. You see, if you were a state, you could do it.
Okay, look. Okay, so I'll do it. But what you're about to hear is an AI version, not me.
Okay.
Because it would be, and in general, I think it can be insulting to the people that genuinely talk like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'm so looking forward to this now.
So it's his metropolis of 1990s Tralee. After much head-scratching and a couple of false starts, he finally concluded, if I was heading there, I wouldn't be starting here at all. Now that was AI.
That was Christopher Walken in whatever that film was called, Jolly Irish Fields.
So the saying, if I was heading there, I wouldn't be starting here at all. This has become a much repeated family motto, the sort of cement that binds a family together over the years. Keep up the good work and down with hypocritical journalism.
It's, of course, it's a fairly famous phrase, isn't it? If I was going there, I wouldn't start from here. And indeed, inspired REM's Can't Get There From Here.
Yes, exactly. So, but being said in an Irish accent obviously gives it more charm.
Oh, that was charm.
I dialed it up on the charm levels. You've only got 5 minutes to talk about the Bear.
Okay, so
is that enough?
Yes. So the Bear season 2 on Disney Plus. You've seen season 1.
I'm still in season 1, to be honest. And the first few episodes are so stressful because, like, working in a kitchen, having consumed espresso permanently, I thought, okay, I hope it calms down a bit, and of course it does.
Well, of course, like any of those things, because I watched it round about the same time that Boiling Point was around, and Boiling Point is now becoming TV series. So there is that thing about you don't get a drama set in a kitchen in which it's just chilled out and hey let's just shoot the breeze. It's a pressure cooker environment is the phrase everybody uses. So Bear season 2. In the first season, we saw Carmy, who's the central character, Jeremy Allen White, coming back from fancy schmancy stuff that he's been off doing, back to take over the beef emporium in his hometown of Chicago after his brother has demised. And at the end of this, are you at the end of the series?
No.
Yet? Okay, well, I don't want to do any spoilers at all in that case. All right, so in this series, Carmen and Sydney Edibiri are now sort of joint leads of the drama. They are rebuilding their food emporium. They have plans of what they were going to do, and the series kind of plays out with so many days to opening. So they're looking forward to a new venture whilst also remembering the past. Here is a clip.
Can I ask you something, and you can tell me to off if you want?
I doubt I'm gonna tell you to off.
When you got that call, the 3-star call. Yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know. How'd it feel?
The first 10 seconds felt like a sort of panic, because I knew I just had to keep him. I had to retain him. Your brain does this weird thing where it just bypasses any sense of joy. It just like attaches itself to dread. And I don't know, after those 10 seconds, I had to turn over a really slow table because the entire United Nations Security Council was coming in.
So normal, totally normal.
See, I really love the characters, and I love the fact that now the two of them sort of absolutely center stage. So
he totally looks like a master chef would look.
He does, doesn't he?
Yes.
It absolutely. This is one of the dramas in which the actors really inhabit the roles. So Oliver Platt's Uncle Jimmy is in as an investor. 18 months, they repay the investment, or he gets everything. Cousin Richie, not your cousin, worrying about his role. He's 45. Where am I? What am I doing? Am I going to be here for a while? The issues are sort of the same as they were before. The relationship between food and life and work. What are the rules of work? What are the rules of food? What are the rules of family? You ever see that film Big Night, the Stanley Tucci film from many years ago, which was sort of kind of like the text for a lot of this stuff. If you've never seen Big Night, you should watch it. It's really, really, really brilliant.
When you say text, I know what it means, but
it's sort of like the sort of the lodestone, the kind of the sump, I don't want to say platonic ideal, but it's something like that, isn't it? What is you're better linguistically than me. What's the actual definition?
I can't
of
remember. I'm going to look it up now.
It's like house on the middle of Street. And so we build towards the opening, and each member of the cast starts to grow. And I think if you're familiar with the whole of Series 1, the thing that you'll find about Series 2 is that it is more expansive. What does it say about text? You got it?
Text, primordial, and text meaning text.
Meaning text, okay, fine. So yes.
A text that is believed to precede both the Septuagint in classical text.
Text, yeah. Check out Big Night, you'll really like it. It is more expansive. You get to see the characters grow. You get to see, it's like the kind of the palette of the thing expands. And then, I think it's episode 6, there is an hour-long episode which takes place in a Christmas way before. So it's a kind of, and we are suddenly taken back to this family Christmas meal. And it is a really it is in a way the kind of episode 3 of The Last of Us, in which what happens is you see the characters as they were before. You see the family environment, the kitchen in which it's all happening. There are 5 conversations going on at any one time. This chaotic melee that kind of makes the cooking scene from Goodfellas seem positively dialed down. You have Bob Odenkirk as Uncle E, not your uncle. You have Jamie Lee Curtis as the mom, who is just getting increasingly rattled and increasingly drunk and increasingly kind of out of control. You've got this pop soundtrack going on in the background in which entire songs play out. And quite early on, they start playing Beyond Belief by Elvis Costello. And Beyond Belief actually, in a way, you remember how that starts? It's very quiet. Dun, 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 dun. And then you hear Pete Thomas come in, the drums come in, and they're building really madly in the background. The story of that song, when they recorded it, apparently Pete Thomas had been out. He had enjoyed a few adult beverages. He came in and he hadn't prepared anything. And Elvis Costello said, "All right, you better be good." And he did that mad, mad, mad drumming in one take. And in a way, there is that kind of madness in this. You get this whole sense of this Christmas dinner is going to explode in every possible way. And it does. And it's kind of touching and moving, and you get to know the characters, and you sort of, in a way, get to understand why everything that happens in series 1 does happen. I think this is called part 2 rather than series 2. I think it's the Bear part 2. But so you've got essentially the build up to the reopening of the refurb place, and then you've got this big sort of set piece thing. I haven't yet got to the end of the series, but I'm loving it because it feels so natural. I mean, the way in which the conversations go over each other, the way in which you can see each individual character genuinely growing before your eyes. And it does have that frantic feel to it, but it also has something that feels slightly richer, as if it's, I suppose it's just because you've spent time with them and you've got to know them. I think you'll really like it. I really liked it.
Bear Season 2 is on Disney+.
I think it's part 2, technically, I think.
Okay. Well, but it's, effectively it's
you know
Season
what I mean,
2,
yeah.
and it's on Disney+ in the UK. Still to come on this fantastic episode of The Take as Mark bashes his microphone again.
2 small independent movies, Oppenheimer and Barbie, with our special guest,
Greta Gerwig. We'll be back before you can say, it still remains unrecognised that to bring a child into existence without a fair prospect of being able not only to provide food for its body, but instruction and training for its mind, is a moral crime, both against the unfortunate offspring and against society. The words of John Stuart Mill, who, of his own free will,
half by Shandy, was particularly ill. We can do that every time.
Okay, well, an email here from Richard, who signs it, Richard brackets 125 babies named as Richard in the last year.
Is that right?
Yeah. Watcher, he starts.
Watcher.
And he calls us Jack and Vic. He's watching Still Game again, and somehow the 2 old Scottish OAPs in Still Game again remind him of us. Because we're...
Waldorf and Statler was the people that we used.
Looks like there is... This is back on your...
yes.
History.
Oh, yes. And me being unfairly downgraded because they made a mistake in the paper.
No, Richard says it looks like there is a past, and he calls it an OCSE board history paper for 1979, which is when Mark ought to have been sitting it.
No, because we figured out this is my A level, not my O level. We figured I got it wrong after having complained about my O level. I realized it's my A level. So anyway, that was 1981 or 2.
He was talking about it's the Treaty of San Stefano.
No, it's not. But it's a very good email. But that's not, because I was actually, as I corrected myself afterwards, it wasn't my O level. It was my A level, and that means it was 1981 history A level.
It's time to move on.
It is.
It's time to move on.
It really isn't time to move on.
I think why is it not?
I've turned 60 and I'm still carrying this grudge.
What would it take for you to just let it go?
Make it up my grade.
Would you like to have my
I would like to, but I can't, can I?
We can't eat on Wednesdays. You can just eat air and dust.
Or I can just watch people preparing lovely food in the Bear.
Box office top 10 at number 54, Medusa. Jonathan on the YouTube channel here says, it's worth mentioning here. Why do you tell us about Medusa, and then I'll read out this thing.
Well, I liked it very much. Yes. It's kind of it's giallo inspired in terms of the way it looks. Like, it looks like a Dario Argento film from the 1970s, and it is about a vigilante group who are Christian inspired and decide to go out into the streets and beat people up who they don't think are behaving
in the name of God.
In the name of God. And then this leads them onto this search for somebody who was famously attacked in the past, and who they think if they find her, she will be a symbol of sinfulness that will put everybody else off. But obviously what happens is other things happen. I really enjoyed it.
Jonathan says it's worth mentioning here Anita's debut film, Kill Me Please, from 2015, which is literally as if David Lynch directed Mean Girls in Brazil.
Yes.
It's also super satirical in relation to the terror of femicide in the country, but much less scary than Medusa, maybe because the country, presumably means Brazil, and the world has also become much more terrible since then. Medusa must be watched in theatres. The sound work is also magnificent, along with a goblin-like soundtrack.
Yes, and of course that takes us back to Argento.
Number 44 is A Kind of Kidnapping.
I wasn't a fan.
Number 22, While We Watched.
I thought a very, very interesting documentary about somebody on Indian news channel attempting to speak the truth whilst competing with a bunch of other stations that are just spouting propaganda.
Squaring the Circle is at 21.
Documentary about the making of album covers, which I was really fascinated by, although I did realise that generationally there are now an entire generation of people who don't know what a 12-inch album cover is.
In the top 10, at 10, 7 in America, Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
The second best Transformers movie. I know that sounds like a low bar, but that's what it is.
Number 9 here, number 12 in the States, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken.
I thought it was good fun. It was kind of empowering, and it was a fun story. And I still like the joke about why are you blue? I'm from Canada.
9 in the UK, 8 in the US, No Hard Feelings.
Quite rightly described as if there was a rift in the time-space continuum and a movie that Jennifer Lawrence had made that nobody knew about in the 1980s suddenly popped up here. I know that doesn't actually work out. Just why I'm saying as if, because obviously Jennifer Lawrence wouldn't have been able to be making the movies in the 1980s.
But you're surprised.
I'm surprised.
About the movie.
Yeah, because it looks like that's what it was.
Number 7 in the UK, 11 in the States, Asteroid City.
I mean, it's chalk and cheese, but it's done pretty well. I mean, it's in its 4th week. It's still in the top 10. I wasn't a fan. I know that some Wes Anderson fans, enthusiasts are really, really like it. Not me.
6 in the UK, 10 in America, The Little Mermaid.
No surprise that it's done well. Kind of reassuring after you consider all the absolutely racist bile that was thrown at it when it was first announced and when the first trailers dropped, that it, of course it's found its audience. Of course it has.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is at number 5.
Terrific piece of animation, and for my money, the best of the sort of multiverse movies.
Number 4 is Insidious, The Red Door.
Now, you'll remember we discussed this last week. Wasn't press screened. I said, I'll see it over the weekend. And you said, will you? And I said, no.
So you made a claim, which was then
I
instantly
immediately retracted it.
Debunked.
And I was right.
You didn't see it.
I didn't see it over the weekend.
Well, Rob in Liverpool has seen it. My wife and I went to watch Insidious, The Red Door at a jam-packed showcase cinema in Liverpool.
Excellent.
We're fans of the series, but I suspect that was a hindrance when watching this 5th instalment. Whilst the other movies are spooky fun, this is almost an attempt using the backstory of Insidious 1 and 2 to create an elevated horror movie, elevated in inverted commas, in which the supernatural elements were in the background and the serious matter of divorce, childhood trauma and parent-child relations were in the foreground. It took a long time to get going. We didn't see nearly enough lipstick-faced demon, bride in black, or any alternative inhabitants of the further, in inverted commas. Sinclair Daniel did her best in the comic role, but is no replacement of Lynn Shane. All in all, it wasn't terrible, but a bit boring, and certainly a disappointment to any fans of the earlier movies. Jeffrey in Manchester. Having followed the Conjuring series and enjoyed most, I went into the 5th Insidious film with hope and expectation. This particular series of sequels had entertained, with the 2nd volume being a particular favourite. How disappointing. For complete lack of ideas, the film takes up the story 10 years after the final chapter and decides that the only way to reach the further, beyond the Red Door, is to go down the Freddy Krueger route that being killed in your dreams can kill you in reality. It's a very lame and eventually a scarcely believable route. The key concept is about suppressed memories, and I truly never felt even a frisson of being afraid for the characters. I can't even recall a jump scare. I wish I could suppress all memory of this film. I found the previews of Blumhouse upcoming features more thrilling than the main event. Tickety tonk and farewell to this series. So that's, maybe you're not going to be encouraged to go and see it.
No, but I will see it when it comes to streaming. Just not going out to do it.
Number 3 here, number 4 in the States, Indiana Toby Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Do you want to say anything? Because we both saw this.
Joe Foster says it's simply not much fun. Gone are the physical comedy moments in the action sequences or the humorous interplay between characters. It was competently made, and I like James Mangold's work, but I wish Spielberg was in the directing chair again. I know that they wanted to explore themes of getting older, but did it have to be so joyless? It felt like an Indiana Jones adventure and more like Logan. It felt less like an Indiana Jones adventure, more like Logan in a fedora. And so on. Thank heavens for Phoebe Waller-Bridge's spunky and fun performance as Helena, and the short but memorable appearance of Toby Jones brought some much-needed life to proceedings.
Okay, well, Toby Jones' appearance isn't that short. I mean, he does play quite a major role quite early on, and hooray for that. The comparison with Logan is, I think, one that James Mangold would obviously like. I think if the thing with the film is and I ended up interviewing James Mangold just because of the way it worked out. I think that there wasn't really that stuff about age and time, and I mean, yes, it's there to some extent, just because because the actors have got older and there's the de-aging stuff, but I thought it was just it's just kind of it's an Indiana Jones romp, and it kind of does what it does, and it's utterly preposterous in the final act. But then that's what Indiana Jones does. It's certainly no more preposterous than the previous one, and of course it doesn't have Shia LaBeouf in it, which is a good thing.
Number 2 here, number 5 in the States is Elemental.
It's now impossible for me to distinguish between what I think about the movie and what I think about the movie since hearing your interview with its director. It was one of those interviews which really made me like the movie. When I saw it before that interview, I thought it was fine. I thought it wasn't classic Pixar, but I thought it was fine. I had some issues with just the sheer physics of fire and water. And then your interview, which was really all about family and personal stuff, just made it feel like a deeper film than I had thought it was. And now that's the version of it in my head.
And number one here and number 1 in the States is Mission Impossible.
No.
Dead Reckoning.
No, it's
Part
gone in
1.
at number 1 after opening last Monday.
Which is fairly astonishing.
It's astonishing.
2 contrasting views. Andrew Fairbrass, first of all, Dear Benji and Luther. With Jason Bourne long since packed away, that left 2 super spies on the big screen. And if No Time to Die didn't kill off James Bond, then this absolute action thrill ride certainly will. There is now only one, and the name is Hunt. Ethan Hunt. Whatever you think sets the bar for an action movie, then just throw that out of the window and forget it. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning takes that bar and sends it into the stratosphere. And certainly if there was any doubt following his recent return in Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible cements Tom Cruise's place in cinema history as the biggest star of his and possibly any generation. This is an event in capital letters, a thrilling, exhilarating action masterpiece. There is no question in my mind it's the greatest action movie ever made and will shoot into the collection of my all-time favourite films. For me, caps here. This is the greatest action film ever made, and it's only part 1. Keep up the good work. Hello to Jason.
And you said that Simon Pegg said in his interview, you wait till you see part. I mean, obviously, of course he's going to say that, but he said the stunts are even bigger in part 2, right?
Yes. Nick, South African, currently living in Wexford in Ireland. I have been astonished at the levels of praise being heaped on this latest Mission Impossible installment. A 5-star film, as Simon noted last week. I have only once left a cinema more crushingly disappointed than I did after Dead Reckoning Part 1, and that was after The Dark Knight Rises. Back in 2012, it seemed like I was completely out of step with public and critical... Or it didn't seem like it, you were. Public and critical sentiment. Most viewed that film as a fittingly thrilling and dramatically satisfying conclusion to one of cinema's finest trilogies. I found it to be willfully confusing, bloated, and worst of the lot, boring. My biggest problem was the dialogue. There is a scene early on in which several top-ranking intelligence folk sit in a room speaking like the AI they are describing, each person taking it in turns to finish the previous person's sentence. It's an expositional technique I find annoying, Star Wars, I'm looking at you, but which I can forgive in small doses if it is getting a big info dump across in a snappy fashion. The problem here was the weird artificial cadence with which these actors were delivering the lines, combined with the hokey Dutch angles. What are Dutch angles?
On the squiff. So it's often thought that Dutch angles are called Dutch angles as an ironic thing because Holland is flat, but it's actually a Deutsche angle, meaning German. It's to do with German film makers coming over to Hollywood and shooting stuff on the schonk, which was a kind of expressionist technique.
Hokey, shonky angles.
Yeah.
But I was
that wasn't bad, was it?
That was very good.
Genuinely wasn't bad.
But I was willing to move past it until the same thing happened at least 4 more times during the film's inexcusably long running time. The scene in the Venice party was arguably worse than the earlier one. Anyway, there are others, but let's see where we are with Mission Impossible, which I saw for a second time this week, actually.
Tom Cruise drives a real motorbike off the side of a mountain, then parachutes down whilst doing the actual dialogue with Simon Pegg. And that's only the beginning of the last movement of the film, which I think is one of, if not the most exciting, nail-biting action sequences I have ever seen. I think the film itself, I mean, there are flaws. The plot makes no sense. The AI thing is called the entity, all that stuff. Who cares? It's that weird thing about when they're explaining the plot and the cadences. That is the dictionary definition of going straight to the heart of the periphery. It's a Mission Impossible film in which you pays your money and you get a series of big set piece sequences. The running around in the little car sequence, which goes on, it's brilliant. The running through the streets of Venice, it's brilliant. The whole, whatever is wrong with Mission Impossible, to come out of it bored is astonishing.
It is.
I mean,
so I would say, Nick, you know that time when you were out of step with The Dark Knight Rises? That.
I mean, I
also having seen it for the second time.
Yeah.
The scariest bit is, I think, which is genuinely heart-stopping, is the bit just before he does the motorbike jump, when he rides on his motorbike straight
right
up to the edge of the cliff, does a kind of a screechy turn and looks off the edge. Thinking, okay, he did that, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, the thing I find most terrifying is the whole of the last 20 minutes on the train thing, when the thing happens, and then the other thing happens, and then another, and you think, how long is this going to go on for? And it keeps happening.
Jake Daniels says, Mission Impossible 7 was a hodgepodge regurgitation of remade movie scenes loosely bound by a horrific screenplay that felt like the fold-over story game I used to play as a kid. Hunt for Red October to begin with, actually a good start. We then went downhill from there to a desert storm shootout in a sandy paintball arena with an inexplicable use of an optional eye patch. From there, an Italian job car chase, a John Wick party, a few murders on the Orient Express before recreating the original Mission Impossible's fight on a train roof. Or was it Spectre? Unclear. A short trip to Jurassic Park as they climbed the inside of a falling carriage before Cruise somehow found more altitude at the bottom of a valley to continue his flying descent. Some good action scenes. That doesn't justify overused tropes and underdeveloped female characters. A song with an excellent guitar solo will still be bad if the drummer is killing cats with his kick pedal.
Okay. I like that phrase. It's not, he doesn't crawl through a carriage.
That is true.
Yeah. And thereby, and that's the key thing. He doesn't crawl through a carriage. That's the point.
I understand Nick's point about a room full of people and they're all finishing each other's sentences, but it's snappy. The thing is, it's not real, and like I said, this is Mission Impossible.
No.
You know?
It's also a film in which, in the first 5 minutes, there's a Scooby-Doo reveal in which someone pulls off a mask, and they would have got away for it if it hadn't been for you pesky kids. And you go, oh yeah, sorry, we're back in the world in which you can put masks on, and you start wondering, but hang on, does the mask go over the eyelid? Does it go to the lips? Why have your teeth changed as well? Because the teeth weren't part of the mask. And actually, you put the mask on and you've become a different height.
And the shootout,
you go, I don't care, it's Mission Impossible.
And the shootout in the desert storm with the sandstorm coming in, I thought was fantastic, and is even better second time around. Anyway, thank you very much. Get in touch, correspondence@kermodemayo.com. Coming in a moment, it's the time where we have to talk about
Barbie
and
Oppenheimer,
which means
Barbieheimer.
Next. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.